Biostimulants can help growers overcome fertilizer crisis. From an article in Horti Daily, published this March 10, 2022 by Arcadian Sea Plants from Canada. Fertilizer prices have more than doubled in the past 6 months, which is bad news for farmers, but the Russian invasion of Ukraine could make it even worse. Until recently, prices were associated with the rise in natural gas prices, along with supply chain disruptions and weather events around the world. However, with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, fertilizer supplies could be affected globally, prolonging the current shortage and exacerbating already high prices for farmers. In conflict with this, wheat futures jumped 12% recently. If a farmer reduces their fertilizer inputs, how can they assure they will deliver their yield at harvest? One way in which we can use our fertilizers smarter without damaging plant nutrition is to enhance crop uptake of nutrients through the use of biostimulants, such as seaweed extracts. When applied to plants or seeds in specific formulations, these extracts have the capacity to modify the physiological processes in plants, in a way that provides potential benefits to emergence, crop development, and stress response. The first written record of agricultural use of seaweed was from ancient Greek and Roman civilizations, in the 2nd century, where foraged beach castings of seaweed were used to feed livestock, and wrap plant roots for preservation. However, stable isotope analysis of prehistoric sheep teeth in the Orkneys indicates that early peoples used seaweed as livestock fodder over 5,000 years ago. Historical records and archaeological evidence of seaweed fertilizer use in the coastal Atlantic are vast and scattered, ranging from Scandinavia to Portugal, from the Neolithic period through the 20th century. Ireland has a long history, since at least the 12th century, of harvesting seaweed for fertilizing nutrient-poor post-glacial soils. Similarly, coastal people in Normandy and Brittany have been collecting seaweed using wood rakes since the Neolithic period, though the fertilizer composition originally included all marine debris that washed ashore. In 17th–19th century Scotland, fucus seaweed was cultivated by placing the rocky substrate in the intertidal zones to encourage seaweed settlement. The seaweed biomass was then used in composted trenches where crops, potatoes, oats, wheat, onions, were grown directly in the sandy fertilizer mixture. The high value of seaweed in these regions caused political disputes over harvesting rights in Ireland. Such rights were established before the country of Ireland itself. These early applications of seaweed fertilizer were limited to coastlines, where the macroalgae could be harvested after a storm washed it to shore. Global production of seaweed fertilizer largely phased out when chemical fertilizers were developed in the 1920s, due to the cheaper production cost. Chemical fertilizers revolutionized the agriculture industry, and allowed the human population to grow far beyond the limits of traditional food production methods. Synthetic fertilizers are still the predominant global source for commercial agricultural applications, due to the cheap cost of production and widespread access. However, small-scale organic farmers and coastal communities continued traditional seaweed techniques in regions with a rich seaweed history. Hence today we have become dependent on these synthetic chemical fertilizers, and now the world is in a crisis as two of the major producers of these inorganic fertilizers, Russia and Ukraine, are at war. This is an opportunity for seaweed farmers to join the fight, not only for freedom, but to fight climate change as well. A probable solution to ocean acidification, global warming, plastic waste, agricultural runoff, human pollution, extinction, is to return to a more organic world. A world where man worked with nature, not just took what they wanted. Returning to our roots of using algae as a fertilizer is just one of the parts to solving not only climate change, but global wars over resources.